What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Monster Bass channel, and today we're going to do a deep dive into deep diving crankbaits, and we're going to break down everything that you need to know about this awesome summertime technique. It's one of my favorite ways to catch them. It's fast, it's furious, so let's get into this and let's break down deep cranking for summer bass. All right, so let's break down my setup for deep diving crankbaits, and it's going to just be bulked up from what I normally throw. You know, when I'm throwing my little medium diver crankbaits or my square bills, normally I'm throwing a 7-foot medium moderate action rod. When I'm throwing these deep crankbaits, you know, these things are going to be getting up in that ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce, even ounce range. And so for like a bait like the Seeker, the crankbait I have tied on today, I'm going to be bumping it up to a 7/6 medium heavy moderate fast action rod, a 6-gear ratio reel, and some 10-pound line. And actually I do a little something different with my line. I'm actually not fishing fluorocarbon, I'm fishing copolymer. And the reason for that is that copolymer is neutrally buoyant, and so when I kill this bait in the water, it's a slow rising bait, or it makes a bait that is a faster rising bait just slow down a little bit and come off the bottom, and then I'm able to hit it again and get it going. It's also got just a little bit more stretch, which I have found with this medium heavy rod and this little bit longer rod, and the way that I set the hook primarily, that little bit more stretch helps me to just really bury those hooks into that fish's face. It also gives me just a little bit more forgiveness when they're, you know, surging next to the boat. And then 6-gear ratio reel, really the biggest thing is it helps me to speed it up enough to get it down there and to move it fast, but also slows me down when I'm like really moving and grooving and just really cranking that crankbait. So you might be asking yourself, why are these fish out deep? Why have they moved out onto these river ledges? Why is deep cranking even something I need to be worrying about? Well, this time of year we're in the post spawn, meaning that we're after the spawn. It's what post means, it means after. And what happens is those fish go up there, they make these beds, they have their babies, and they have this prolonged period of time where they're not eating, where they're not consuming food, because they're more worried about making babies and doing the spawning process. And so what happens is, as soon as they're done, the natural instinct to go kill and to go eat and to go fatten back up just takes over their body. And you're gonna have some fish that are residential, that stay up shallow, they eat bluegills and they do stuff like that. But then you're gonna have other fish that move out deep, that come and get on these river ledges, and they come out here, they follow the bait, they follow the bluegills, and they just come out here, they school together. And that's one of the biggest things, is they all get together in these big pods or schools, and there'll be multiple fish in these schools, and they'll just work together to corral bait fish, to eat bait fish, and do different things. But you can use that to your advantage. And the reason behind that is, once you get one of those fish to eat, normally the whole school will, what we call, fire up, which means they just all get in that feeding mode. They get in that eating mode. And so you can stand there and make repetitive casts, consecutive casts over and over and over again, and catch multiple fish in a row. Because once they start competing, even though they kind of work together in some aspects, they also want to get that food and then get away from those other fish, so a bigger fish doesn't try to take it away from them. And so this is just such a big part of, you know, summer fishing. Is if you love to do the shallow fishing thing, it's awesome, but there's also this amazing bite out deep where you can come out, you can use your graphs, you can use your tech, you can go out here and you can find some big schools of bass and just catch a whole bunch, and sometimes a lot of big ones too. All right, so one thing that I do that, you know, in my experience with deep fishing and deep cranking, that has caught me quite a few fish, and honestly some really big fish at that, is when I'm actually deep cranking this crankbait and it comes up next to the boat. What you got to realize is, when that bait hits its maximum diving depth is normally right in front of the boat. It's that last third of the cast. And so instead of just reeling that thing straight up the top, I like to pump it up and pause it all the way up. And what that does, it almost acts like a jerk bait. So if there's any fish following that thing, that crankbait's gonna make a directional change first of all, which usually can get them to react. If that doesn't get them to react, it's gonna pump, pause, pump, pause. And it's just like a bait fish trying to get away from them. And I cannot tell you how many big kicker fish that didn't want to commit to the crankbait for some reason while I was cranking it, that I've got them on that directional change and then pumping that thing up from deep water up to the boat. It's just something to keep in mind. You know, don't just willy-nilly reel the crankbait in, especially when you're deep cranking, because there could be one following it. I mean, in just a simple pump all the way up to the top like that, you can have some giant followers commit to that bait and get those giant followers into the boat, in the kayak, or wherever you happen to be fishing. Deep cranking can be intimidating. It really can. You know, you gotta have the electronics, you gotta have the boat, you gotta go out there, you gotta look for them. But the thing is, don't let it intimidate you. Go out there and go and try it. be old school like I am. I still line up with objects on the bank. I still line up with buoys in the water, and I only use my electronics to kind of really help me to stay on the spot that I need to stay as far as what the map is telling me to see. And I still go old school, and you can do the same exact thing. Go out deep, spend some time offshore, go and find some of these schooling fish, because when you find a school and you get them fired up and you can crank something like a crankbait, you're just gonna have an immense amount of fun, because it's just awesome. It's one of my favorite ways to catch them. I mean, there's nothing like catching fish every single cast.